Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk about command line arguments. I think the book and lecture do a good job of explaining what they are, but not exactly how they actually work in practice. So I want to go over that. Today you're finally going to learn what this mysterious string args means here in your main method arguments. So I told you you're going to learn about that on like the last lecture of the year. So finally we get to cover that together today. Should be pretty quick and pretty easy. So you know about methods and parameters. You know what they look like, and you even know how to pass an array as method parameters. If you recall, this is what a array parameter looks like, specifically an array of strings. So into our main method, we're going to be passing an array of strings. It's an array by little open and closed angle brackets there. The type it's going to hold, it's holding strings, and then the name we've given it, args. We also know that void means our main method doesn't return anything. Of course, it's the method that starts the program, so of course it doesn't return anything. It's static, which means it can be called without creating an object. You can just call it with the class name, which we kind of need our main method to be static because notice we never ever create like a command line args example argument. In all the programs you've created, like your library of books, you never created a library of books object. You created a library object and a book object, but never a library of books object. And then of course, public means that anybody can call it, which if our main method was private, our program probably wouldn't run. So back to the command line arguments. This array, args here, is actually where the arguments you pass your program are going to come from. So what are program arguments? Well, a good example of it is actually the javac command or the Java command. When you say javac star.java to compile all your Java files in this directory, javac is the command you're running or the program you're running. It's a program. A command and a program are kind of interchangeable, at least on the command line. It's a program, and then javac is a program that compiles all your Java files. And then star.java is actually a command line argument. We're saying javac compile all the Java files. That's what star.java means here in this case. So star.java would be the first argument to the program. There's some programs that can take multiple arguments. So your program can take more than one argument. What would be a good example of that? Well, for instance, you could do, if I went up a directory, I'm in my teaching folder right now. If I wanted to ls.al, that just means list everything, and then let's do the command line example directory. You'll see that we listed out everything. So it's like the ll command, basically list everything. And notice we took two command line arguments here. The options for the command, the al means list everything and l means listed out vertically like this. And then the command line args example, the name of the directory we were listing. So that's an example of a command that takes two arguments. So our commands can take multiple arguments. And the Java programs you write are no exception to this. So I'm going to teach you how to do command line arguments two ways. This is our example. Super simple. All we're doing is using a for each loop to print out the arguments we gave the program on separate lines. So let's do it the first way. The first way you pass command line arguments to the program, this is going to work really well for you if you have a MacBook or a Linux computer. This is how I would recommend you guys do it. Let's compile our Java files first. So compile your Java files like you would normally if you were going to run it from the command line. Run it from the command line. And then where your arguments go is right here after the name of the command. So if I did Java is cool, these are three separate command line arguments. I hit enter and we get Java is cool printed out to the console. It's as simple as that to pass command line arguments to your program. They're separated by spaces. So what if I wanted Java is cool all as one argument? I would have to do Java command line arguments example, and I would just put it in quotes. So double quotes will keep, if you have to include spaces, by default, the command line arguments are space separated. If you put in double quotes, it'll treat it all as one. You can do this for through Eclipse as well. It's a little more inconvenient, but for you Windows users out there, this is how you're going to have to do it since you don't have a command line with the Java compilation running tools on there. At least I'm not aware of it. I haven't messed around with the Windows computers all that much myself. The way you're going to do it is you're going to go to your green arrow up here to run your program. You're going to click this little black drop down, and you're going to find your run configurations. So if you go to run configurations, this sets up how your program is going to run. Come over here and look for your main class. Hopefully you don't have as many things here as I do. So I'm looking for command line examples in here. So if you can't find it, another way you can go is you have this main. This is basically selecting what your main class is, what program you're going to run. If you come over here and you hit browse, you can select the project you want. So I want my command line examples project. Then it's going to ask you to choose your main class. Of course, we need to update this, so let's search for our main class. Select whichever main class you want to run. Hit OK. And before we add command line arguments, let's just test this. So we hit run. And of course, nothing runs because we haven't passed it any arguments left. But our program did run, so we know that worked. Let's go back to the Run Configurations menu. So we've got our project selected, our main class selected. Let's rename this to command line args example so we can find it. So the way you pass your program command line arguments is you go over here to this arguments tab. This is the same thing. If you did Java is cool in this program arguments section, and guess we don't have to apply it. Whoa. There we go. Just didn't like that for some reason. Hit apply. So we saved it. Now hit run. You got Java is cool printed out. Come over here to that arrow again. Go to your run configurations. Guess that name didn't apply. Let's Guess it didn't like having it the same name as the main class. But anyways, let's go back to our arguments. Let's put Java is cool in double quotes here. And try it again. Hit apply. Hit run. And it treats it. Okay, sorry about that. I actually had to stop my recording and do some Googling for how to use the program arguments in Eclipse. I have some unfortunate news for you Windows users. Is I actually can't figure out how to pass multiple word arguments through the Eclipse command line options. Luckily, in CS 121, you don't have to do this, but let this be a motivation to you to maybe find a better IDE than Eclipse. I've hinted at this throughout the semester. I'm not actually a huge fan of Eclipse. I much prefer IntelliJ. It's a different IDE because of weird little things like this. It seems in previous versions this worked for me, but for some reason now it doesn't. Maybe this will work for you on Windows. Maybe the program, like double quotes, are using some weird encoding that's messing Eclipse up. I have no idea on my MacBook. But this should pass as one word. But of course, when I apply and run, I get still separate words separated by spaces with the quotes. Now, if you're just passing one word, command line arguments, this works fine. And luckily in CS 121, that's all you got to do. So you're safe here. But I honestly, I Googled around for about 30 minutes and I could not find anything about how to get this to work, including in the going into the Eclipse settings and stuff, how to get Java is cool all in one line using the double quotes. Works just fine through the terminal. If you ever run into this in CS 121, I don't think you will, but you can always put it onto Onyx and run it with the command line arguments through the terminal. That's what I would recommend.